welcome friends. Thank you again for joining us for the next sort of episode of Chamber Chat. And today I welcome you and my two guests who I'm going to introduce you to in just a moment. And we're going to spend some time talking about leadership and women entrepreneurship in our community. And let me begin again by thanking you for joining us and welcoming Jennifer Berry with Suburban Living and Lisa Hamill with Wines, Etc. And our two friends join us with a lot of community experience, a lot of opportunity of leadership in their personal lives. And just to give you a little bit of background, both live in Simsbury, which is wonderful. We appreciate that. Thank you for our commitment to the community. But Jennifer Berry is a local working for a Fortune 100 company as a managing director. And she spends a lot of time coaching and leading, teaching people leadership skills in that environment. And then now she has branched out as well into creating Suburban Living, which is right here in town. And we'll certainly hear more about that in the next couple of minutes.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate your commitment to our community, to the women in our community, but then also to a board you're sitting on, which is Girls on the Run.
Yes.
We'll ask you to tell us a little bit about that as well. So thank you for all those commitments.
Thank you.
And Lisa, thank you for your experience in town here. 13 years of community involvement, whether it's through leadership, whether it's through education or the ownership of your wines, etc. 2 offices, one in Simsbury, one in Granby, and give you an opportunity to tell us a little more about those as well and some of the events that you have coming up soon. But again, I welcome you both, and our goal today is just to have conversation so we can understand a little bit more about how you both got started in business and how you're finding it now. What's it looking like? What's the landscape? What's the future? What your personal passions are, and how we as a community, how we as a Chamber of Commerce can help make that an even better experience for you. So, with that in mind, welcome again. Glad you're joining us at home. What I'd like to ask though is, how did you get started, and has business kind of been what you thought it would be as you got into it? And maybe Lisa, you could go first for us, is that okay?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you again for that introduction.
Okay.
So my approach is a little bit non-traditional, I would say. I started in education. I was teaching elementary school for about 13 years. And as life happens, so do changes. And what I decided to do when I got divorced is I decided to take over the business that I was running at the time with my husband. And I decided that I was going to take a break from teaching and kind of make the business that we currently had something different. So what I discovered in that pivot, which I like to call it, is that I actually was really good at leadership. And a lot of the skills that I learned from teaching and my educational background really did transfer well over to entrepreneurship. And I was very excited and passionate about making our business something different. Being in the wine industry, it's kind of fun to differentiate, and we can really take some different ideas and initiatives and make them personalized to the brand. So essentially, that pivot in life really worked out well for me. And here I am, expanding into a second location 5 years later, or 5 years ago, I should say, and really doing well and making wonderful connections in the community with events and all different things.
Well, I can tell you're someone who, like you use the word pivot. You have to be able to do that. And I forgot to mention in my introduction, both of my guests today are moms. I'll say full-time moms.
Yes.
I've seen Lisa's schedule. I haven't seen yours, but you talk about a packed schedule. And being an entrepreneur, being a mom, being just full-time committed to the community, there is no free time. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to respond. Time is a great commodity, and you seem to use it very well, so I congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
Jen, maybe you can answer the question for us
sure.
as well.
Maybe non-traditional is the pattern here. So I went through Simsbury High School, class of 92, not to age myself, but what was really important is I went through the work experience program. And so at a really young age, I had experience working for the town of Simsbury in the Board of Education and Accounts Payable. If you remember Simsbury Travel, I used to deliver airline tickets. So even pre-tech, right? But at the time, the Hartford was hiring for staff, temporary staff. And so directly from high school, I went to work at the Hartford, became a full-time employee after my first year there, and I was there for 17 years. And so I went from really doing, basic file clerk type of stuff, moved into technology. I ran the program to build the first website, to build the first phone contact center.
For who? Wait,
for the Hartford Insurance Company.
You built the first website?
I was the program lead for that.
Way to go.
Yeah, and so that's how I got introduced to tech, Y2K, all those types of things. And then I had sort of formal training. I was very fortunate that they allowed for that, right? I was able to get certifications and different things through work experience. So there until 2009 when the market sort of crashed and the stock price went to $4 a share. We don't want to talk about that. But then I landed a job at Cigna, and that's where I am today. But I've I unfortunately have had, in my experience, not so great female leaders. And so that became a passion of mine to really sort of become the standard of what I think good leadership looks like through my experience, through my executive coaches and some other programs that I've had, that I've stood up my own executive programs for leadership within my job. I get to use sort of left brain, right brain, because I still do lead technology. I've been very passionate about growing future leaders, and that includes men too, right? We have a lot of unconscious bias that we try to work through. So I spend a lot of time in that space. The idea of starting this gift shop that it's been just over a year and a half now was really just a fluke. It was not something that I ever dreamed of doing. I have a lot of people that come in and say, I always wanted to have something like this. That was not me.
Okay.
At all. But then I was able to take something that was really a gift shop, but it turned into something much bigger than that, which is really to help these women who are part of our shop, 65 plus strong now, grow their businesses. And some of that's leadership development, learning how to market, advertise, cross collaboration, and a bunch of different things, which is how I ended up finding Lisa and a lot of other women in our community that have these amazing businesses that I can learn from every day, since this is, again, not something that I had experience in or even dreamt of doing.
But you're breathing life into a lot of young women in particular who have an idea. They don't know really what it is. They're trying to flesh it out. But your two organizations, as far as your experiences in the community and your leadership, I was with Hannah, and I can't remember her last name right now, from Elevate Dog Training.
Yeah.
She did we did a grand opening for her last Saturday. Yeah. And we said, what prompted you to get started? She said, well, Suburban Living gave her the passion and the courage, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of, you were speaking that people need to be confident that they can carry this out. So was that kind of speaking into them?
Yeah, we just after we opened, I founded Valley Entrepreneur Hers, and I think we just hit 402 members. Some of that's duplicative in that I might have joined as Jennifer Berry, but then also as Suburban Livin, so some of it's double counted.
Okay.
But these monthly network meetings, and Lisa, we do them on premise in different businesses. Lisa hosted for us, I think it was December, somewhere in there, right before Christmas, I think. To learn from other business leaders, as well as giving them the skill sets, but the community and the collaboration that they're having in those meetings. Hannah was one of a first-time person just a few months ago, met another entrepreneur who opened up her home and her property for her to be able to have the event that, launched the chamber. We have marketing people that are now helping market for other women. It's just, that's the thing of anything else that I've done in my entire life that I'm most proud of is that collaboration. We do not need to compete with each other, right? As much as we can collaborate, and you're seeing these businesses grow as a result of that, is the thing that's the reason I do all of it.
So I bumped into an awkward, and I'm not sure even the best way to say this, but it was a little bit awkward because someone told me, when I told them I was interviewing you both as women, entrepreneurs, and leaders, they said, don't make it about gender. Just recognize people are leaders and people are entrepreneurs, and these two happen to be women. And I resonated with that because it's true. And I don't stop when I have an individual that's a gentleman. I don't say, well, I'm interviewing a man today, so I don't want to. I'm struggling with the best way to do this because I want to highlight what you're doing. And part of where we're going today, I hope, is you can tell us better ways that we can stimulate interest for women to be bold, to do the leadership things they want to do, to take the opportunities to create businesses and be entrepreneurs. But I don't want to do it just because you're women, but it just happens to dovetail very nicely. And the story that you're weaving, you two represent it perfectly right now. This community is very open to that, I think. And Hannah is, the Elevate Dog Training is a great example of that. Okay, so my question was going to be what motivates you, but I can kind of see it just in your answers. Is there more you'd like to say, Lisa, maybe?
I think what happens when I always believe there's like power in numbers. When we all get together, I think there's just synergy, and people are inspired by that. They just hear stories of resiliency, people who are very passionate, who maybe didn't have the skills but did it anyhow and figured it out. And I think the more we talk with transparency about our own stories on how we got started, the more real we are with other women here in town who kind of want to start a business or not sure where to begin. You don't have to have all the answers. Right before I came here, I was just with a woman who owns a business in the Simsbury town shops. She's an interior designer, and she wants to expand and start a brick and mortar space in our shops. And she had a lot of...
the chamber.
She had a lot of questions. She was, she had called me and said, do you have, 5 or 10 minutes? She had a lot of questions about the funding, securing the capital. Taking that first leap is very scary. She has the vision, and this is the same thing that happened for me. I knew exactly what the brand Wine Etc. was going to look like, right? I could see it. I had pictures, I had printed out different, even the light fixtures in the store, how I wanted things to look. I had the decor
Vision
set.
boards.
Yes. And what I encourage her to do is, and I tell most of the women who I speak with and mentor, you need to start before you're ready, because this is life. You are not going to have a whole blueprint of how this whole process is going to go, and it's not going to happen like that.
That's a great catchphrase. Start before you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I told the woman I was with today, you just have to do it. And if you have the skill set, which comes from resiliency, which comes from these very hard moments where we have to pivot, right? If you have those skill sets, you can make anything happen. You really can. And that's how you become more effective in leadership. The more setbacks you have, the more you prove yourself wrong.
If you overcome them and have the mindset, this is just a pivot point, I guess.
It is. And I always say to myself and the women I speak with too, if you were to lose everything tomorrow, would you have the resources, the capabilities, the confidence to start over and start again? And the answer for me is yes. I have had to figure out and problem solve and troubleshoot so many things in my business. I mean, starting with, the takeover of the first original Wine Etc. in Granby, which was, 13 years ago, left education and came into that business and had no idea how to run a business. I could run a classroom.
Right.
I could teach 21 kindergartners, but I had no idea how to run a business. I had to learn everything from the ground up: the accounting, the bookkeeping, the payroll, the marketing, everything.
Right. And through a very challenging environment at times, with the COVID thing and all the other stuff that went on. But two things. One is, before I get off the topic, I want you guys to talk about your store location, so we'd get that point in. But then also the networking piece, because I think you said when you hit those hard times, you have to be able to call somebody. And both of you have a network around you, and you have become a network for other people, which is huge as well.
Right. And I'm just thrilled, like today when that woman called me this morning, I absolutely will find 10, 15 minutes. We both do a very good job of being real and transparent. And
authentic.
We tell our story because we know
The good, the bad.
There's no sugarcoating any of it. This is hard. This is hard. And it's not going to happen as you intended to happen. And so because of that, yes, you need a nest egg of people. You need women on your side, men too. I think I spoke with you about mentors, and I think it's really important that all women or people in business have a mentor who you meet with once a month, who you can just bounce ideas by and just get good perspective. It can feel lonely. It can be hard. Business is not always peaches and roses. It's very much a lonely venture. You're sitting there spinning the wheels, often trying to create new strategy. You go to your team, you ask for feedback, you share ideas. But the real raw reality, the stuff that you can't really talk to your team about, your staff about, this is the kind of conversations that we have. We get real and honest and authentic with each other about, I'm really struggling right now. Here are the things that I'm really struggling with. Even for our 5-year anniversary, we did a whole women resiliency, women in business. We had 6 or 7 different women business owners come, and it was a celebration of the success of all of these different women-owned businesses, kind of in culmination with our Simsbury location turning 5 years old, and just the power of that resiliency. I mean, let's talk about it, right? It was March 15th, 2020.
Right. There wasn't a single person that stood up there that didn't say, and I failed here. I remember an interview, it was probably 15 years ago, and the person was like, tell me a time you failed. Tell me. It was like, I left there feeling so negative about it. And I'm like, I don't look at failure the same way. And as much as it's cliche, it's like, to me, it's the opportunity, the pivoting. It's the, okay, I tried that didn't work. Now I'm going to do this, right? It's the resiliency. I think a lot about when I opened the business, again, with zero experience and I did not have inspirational journals. I did not have vision boards. I didn't think anything of this. And I did it in 30 days because I had a goal. I'm like, I'm going to have this open on my 50th birthday. So that was my goal. And we did, and I worked all day and then worked all night. And
so you started before you were ready.
Yes,
you applied
But that's a really good point, though, because with that meant, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this, and this is what the commission structure should look like. To where I am now going, wow, I made that way harder for myself. So how do I pivot? How do I simplify? How do I automate? How do I leverage technology? Learning those all on the fly, but also by reaching out to someone like Lisa and saying, how are you doing that exactly? Right. Or payroll for me, because I do have 65 women, is incredibly painful because I have to, like, at the time think about, okay, I agreed at the time to pay you this and you this and you this, to now going, now it just needs to be flat, because that's taking
too much
me
to keep track of.
Way too long, right?
Yeah.
And so, and partnering, again, I'm fortunate in that my business runs by volunteers, but all of those volunteers, you want to have a diverse group of people around you, people that have marketing and accounting, that you can, like, even if you have to still be the sole person as a business owner and you're wearing all of those hats all of the time, knowing who you can go to internally or externally to get your questions answered. The very first guest speaker we have at Valley Entrepreneurs was a tax accountant.
Okay.
Because many of us were going, what are we supposed to do? And do I pay the state taxes? Are you supposed to? And now we get to mix in some more fun things now that we're a little bit more mature, and now that we have our own experiences that we can share.
Sure.
You know, it's an amazing community of knowledge from people, regardless of gender. I have, many male counterparts that I can reach out to ask for.
And you can't be prideful. You have to be willing to be real, as you said. So tell us physically where you're located, and then Lisa, same thing.
Yeah, sure.
For you,
so we're in the courtyard. I think it's interesting. People used to know it as Jim. No, it is Jim Gallagher.
Jim Gallagher.
Yeah, but it's called Mallway. And actually, so some of the signs still say Mallway, which I think actually causes more confusion. But I always say I'm in the Redstone Pub courtyard.
Okay.
Also, my building actually says courtyard on it. Like, I have the actual wooden sign on the building. So I think that, there's lots of confusion of where I am. But the end unit, the one that is 2 stories, it sits in the Redstone Pub courtyard. Is their location, so just adjacent from the CVS and across from the library, and
easy walking distance from anywhere downtown.
Distance. I think for one of the things, and Lisa will explain where she is, but that we have an advantage because we have the rails trails and we have Hot Meadow Street, that really, like, you just walk down either end, right, and you're going to find us one way or another.
Good, convenient location.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lisa, how about you? Where are we located?
We are located in the Simsbury Town Shops, where the old Horan's Flowers used to be for 40 plus years. In fact, people still come in asking, do you sell flowers here? No, but we have something better. We have wine. So we chose that location primarily because it's proximity to downtown. So part of the expansion from Granby in going into Simsbury was just what you said. We wanted to be very close to Iron Horse. We wanted to be a community space where we can hold events and tastings, and we wanted it to be in close proximity to the downtown area and walkable, and in a place where people could visit other businesses, within a stone's throw. And so that's where we're located, 926 Hot Meadow.
Is there a distinction between your 2 locations? Like, one would specialize in something over the other, or?
Yeah, I would say our first location is larger, and second location is a little bit more intimate and curated for the customer. So when I say that, I mean somebody could walk in and show me a picture of a bottle of wine they had at a restaurant, and say, oh, can you please find this for me? We're like your personal wine concierge. Okay, so we do a lot of that behind the scene research for people, locating their one bottle of wine they had at dinner, or they went to Italy and they love this one vineyard. So, because our volume is not as high there, we can do that. We can take the time to do that research and find that product. We also have our wine club out of that location, which is 6 or 12 bottles a month on subscription, and you get access to all the latest new arrivals. So that's a real convenient service for customers. And then we can curate these events. My daughter's turning 28. I want to surprise her with a little cocktail mixology class. Can you help us plan that? So a larger component of our Simsbury location and how it's much different is we do a lot of event planning. We host a lot of networking events at that store. We have the space to do it with that table that we have. We can fit up to 20 people. So I would say there is a little bit of a difference. I mean, the brand is consistent through both stores.
Right.
We really emphasize the aesthetic and the convenience for customers with gifting and being able to find a quick gift for graduation, anniversary, that sort of thing. But I would say the primary difference is high volume, customers running in and out the door in Granby versus Simsbury. They want to stay a lot longer. Yeah, they love how it smells. They love how it looks, and they want to hang out.
Boutique, could I use that word a little bit?
Yeah, it's boutique.
Okay.
Yes. It's beautiful.
So, we started out the conversation by talking about what you're trying to accomplish. Big goal, which is women feeling more confident, having leadership skills being developed, and then having the entrepreneur. Is it working? Do you feel we're making progress in at least the Farmington Valley or right here, Granby, Simsbury area?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. And like, my corporate job is very different, right? I'm like the 1% in my organization compared to where I feel in this community that it's not the 1%. I feel it's more equally distributed for like male versus female owned businesses. It could be that really in downtown, specifically with Simsbury Square, there's so many women owned businesses there. So the network opportunity is really great. But the connections that we're seeing to grow these women's businesses, and some of them are small. Like even in the gift shop, it's not just about purchasing the gift. We have many people, we have nutritionists, spiritual guides, therapists, artists. Like there's a whole community of people that's not just about buying the gift, right? And so it's like the gift
And they
that
all
keeps
need
on
wine,
giving.
or they all need.
And they do. And it's funny, like we were just joking about the flower situation, right? RJG Flowers, she's having some issues with like just some personal things that are keeping from having the flower shop open all the time. So she brings us flowers and we sell flowers for her while the store is closed, right?
Okay.
It's what I love so much, again, is the collaboration. When people are in my store, I'm like, go to Wine Etc. You're never going to believe what she has there. And vice versa. If you go into Prime IV, you're going to see a little display of the candles that we sell in our store along with coupons from the store. And and then I have Prime IV cards in our store. So how do we collaborate across town, I think helps a lot.
Yeah, and I'm just going to agree with you that I really think we're in this season of like bravery, I guess we could call it. I think women are feeling a lot more comfortable taking risks. And I think there are a lot of businesses that are opening that are very specific, niche businesses. So you take the Simsbury Town Shops, for example. You have a British store, right? You have Spoonful of Britain. You have the Bell and Raven store, which is metaphysical. You have Verve now, which is a dance studio. So you're seeing women opening very specific businesses. And I think that, at least for me personally, in my leadership, thought process, we're very innovative and creative thinkers. So sure, we have the capacity to look at like the numbers and be very analytical. But I think what is so special about women and in motherhood, you have to be able to think outside of the box, right? Life is not linear, business is not linear. So if you're willing to have an idea, whether it's, a 30-day execution, a 2-year execution, if you're willing to have an idea that you can hold on to and you can see the vision and you're willing to execute on it, I think we've developed enough of like a security blanket in our community where people feel like at any time they could come in, they could call, they can ask a question. And well, if Jen's doing it, then I can certainly try it. And she did it that quickly. If Lisa opened during COVID, and she's still standing.
Well, be careful now. You guys might get flooded with calls and emails
I know,
from some
I
new
know.
moms out there thinking, I've always wanted.
Yeah, and I was thinking too I think for me, COVID changed the way people think. It made it more, I'm going to say non-traditional, but it really should be traditional. The moms that have a store that have their baby with them when they're in the store, like that's fine, right? You want to have an environment that people feel comfortable coming into. And the folks that are working from home are launching a business where you're working from home. Like there's so much possibility with technology now too, that it's not just the traditional. So many more women are back in the workforce, right? But there's still so many that we have so many roles outside just our job or even just being a mom. There's many of our life that we don't get paid for. Like there's a whole thing around that, right? Like doing the shopping, doing all the things that you have to get done in addition to then working and everything else. We can juggle a lot of things. Like that's what makes us versatile. And I think allows us the ability that if something does happen that we can bounce back from it pretty quickly. I think for me, because I balance a lot and, you mentioned the board for the Girls on the Run. I'm a pretty busy person. A lot of people that I coach or that I meet are like, how do you do all of this? And I'm like, I am so fortunate because my children are older, right? So could I have done what I'm doing now 10 years ago? Absolutely not. But I'm in a position in my life where I can. My husband works out of our home, so he's able to walk the dog and do all the things that it frees me up the time. I have that partnership to be able to do that. Which I think is good too. Yeah.
Well, that was the paradigm shift I was going to mention. A lot of men now are recognizing their wife might be more talented in a particular area than they traditionally were. So let her have that, I'll say, breadwinning capability, and they will do more of the items around the house, the shopping, the walking the dog, whatever. And one isn't better than the other. This is not a comparison or a competition, as one of you said before. It's really more about utilization. How do we best take advantage of the opportunities and the people that we're made to be?
Yep.
So what more now can the Farmington Valley or we specifically do? The Chamber, Simsbury, Granby, we want to embrace where you're going, what you're doing. How do we help? What more can we do?
I think exposure, networking opportunities, I think are really important. So how can we give some of these women who are just starting opportunities to really showcase what they're doing? I think this is a great way, having people here to talk about their brand and their mission. one of the things I think is so cliche is like a book club. But in all honesty, I mean, we don't have a lot of time to read, but I do think that there are valuable resources in authors who have put out some great literature about leadership, that it would be certainly great to get together on a regular basis in smaller, intimate groups. I think if you could even just ask the people in the chamber who's available to mentor, who is interested, who has, even if it's just an hour a week, to meet with some of these women who have just started their businesses, just to be that sounding board, that voice of reason, just to give them a little confidence boost, and so they know that they're not alone, because it's very vulnerable. So, how can we give people more support and exposure? And I think it's really just a platform and resources.
You had mentioned grants sort of while we were setting up today, and I would be really interested in learning more about opportunities for that. We were fortunate that the Lieutenant Governor came into the store. Actually, you came to be part of that. And she talked about the Women Business Development Council, and they have grants. Well, in my business, I'm too young or too old. Okay. Like it's the Goldilocks of all this. Like, I'm not finding that I fit into whatever mold they're looking for, but any money is super helpful. When I did decide to do the business, my goal was not to take a personal loan and to really build it grassroots with very little money. And so far that's successful, but it would alleviate a lot of pressure, right? If there's more financial resources. A lot of what I see for financial resources is low interest loans or what. I don't want to add more to my plate from that perspective. So if there are ways to get grants, if there's ways to do sponsorships of businesses and other things, I think that would be something that would be helpful. We also talked a lot about exposure anyway on Iron Horse, right? Or on Route 10.
Advertising, publicity.
Signs, publicity.
That's a tough one, particularly on Route 10 here.
And here's the thing, it's the historical district, right? And we're so fortunate for that. I love nothing more than that the building has 1905 stamped, above our door, and that it has a story behind it being a horse stable years and years ago. Like, the history is so amazing to me.
Right.
But that also comes with other restrictions around signage and some of the other things. So
it does,
whether it be print marketing or online advertising, I would love nothing more than like a Shop Simsbury commercial that is on TV.
I mean,
and it doesn't have to be. It's not about women-owned businesses. It's about why come to Simsbury. When I promote, I'm sorry to cut you. When I promote business, even for myself, I'm like, come to Simsbury. We have all these great restaurants, and I might tag a couple of them in there. I might say, come shop Simsbury, and then tag Lisa and Bell and Raven and some of the other places. Because then they see it, that helps them. Then they share it, and it helps me, and it spreads from there.
Well, I serve on the Economic Development Committee here in town as well, and we spend once a month getting together just to talk about with Sarah Nielsen and Main Street Partnership about what can we do, not just to grow the grand list, but to produce better products here in Simsbury, so people are attracted to come and spend the night at the inn, or go to the restaurants, or buy wine, or just recreate at the Performing Arts Center, whatever it might be. So if you guys come up with more ideas, specific, let us know. But also come to the Economic Development Committee and let us hear if you have ideas. Or if it's really an encumbrance, there's just not enough signage. We have to be careful how we do that, because with all the traffic now on Route 10, we can't block the line of sight and visions, and people being able to see people trying to cross the streets. And sometimes people given license will just put up signs anywhere. So there's a control environment that has to happen, not just here in Simsbury.
And you don't want to take away from the small town vibe. And I'm born and raised here my whole life, so I appreciate nothing taller than 6 feet.
No neon signs.
Not the fluorescent signs and all the fast food places and stuff like that. I appreciate that, and I want to keep it that way too.
Right.
You think about like the wine trail or a passport. Like, is there a Shop Simsbury passport? We've sort of brainstormed about that before. Like, get a hole punch at all these different businesses.
But I don't want to limit it to just Simsbury, because Granby, our sister town here, and I was just in a meeting with them last week. They're trying to envision what their town center will now look like, and where does the center start and end, and what kind of height requirements. So they've been spending a year and a half putting that together, and they're very close to being able to launch that next thing. So together, Simsbury and Granby can become kind of a marketing arm for these ideas. So
I'm always thinking too about the next pocket of like women entrepreneurs that are coming up. And I think one thing, Ray, that would be helpful is, women-owned businesses are considered minority. So, you wanted to start your company, without any loans. In my case, I had to secure a lot of inventory. So we needed working capital. I also did a renovation in that store in Simsbury. So what I discovered in that process that I didn't know was that I'm considered a minority-owned business. So through Headco, I was able to apply for a loan to get funding, to secure the inventory and finish the build out. And the woman I spoke with this morning who wants to start her brick and mortar, she's going through HEDCO as well. So how awesome would it be to have HEDCO come and visit at one of these meetings or networking opportunities? So women who are thinking, I really have had this idea for a long time. I really want to start this business, but I'm just so overwhelmed with, where I don't have the resources financially. How do I even begin? Learning the process of what HEDCO has to offer, which is a really fantastic term loan. They will stretch it out, to help you with affordable monthly payments. They will give you a very low interest rate. Finding ways like that to be, innovative in terms of savings, because that does, add up.
Well, and be aware too that Sin Thomas, our director here at the library, has a whole program on helping people. How do you start a business? What licensing do I need? Do I need an attorney? At what point do I call in these experts? And she can walk people through that as well. So someone like this new person, or the chamber, we have folks who we're glad to meet with them and just talk about, here's what we've bumped into with other folks who try to start a business and maybe not thought through, or they don't know how to read a profit and loss statement or an annual report or whatever it might be that they need to. So there are tools available, and that's great that you guys are putting people in touch with those resources.
Yeah, and I think sharing, those are great resources. So some of it is just how do you get the word out about those types of things, right?
Things like this.
Right. And because with Valley Entrepreneurs, I really, for that specifically, I want it to be a place where women, regardless of experience, feel safe, right?
Okay.
And in some of the initial meetings, it was, I don't know why I'm here. We have people cry. They're inspired by people. Some are like, I am going to retire soon. I don't know what my next thing looks like. I mean, so we have the gamut of all the reasons that people are there. And so in some cases, the content's not appropriate to maybe do something like that, but I can definitely promote to say hey, if this is your next thing, talk to
this
Sin,
person.
Go to the chamber, and we can, share the knowledge that way also.
Yeah, because people are pretty much trying to aim all for success and bring people to that same success level. So we don't have a lot of time left, but in the time we have, tell me what else is going on. What other events, what other programs, what other entrepreneurs. I'm trying to say it the right. Help me. What are going on in those environments or other events that you might have coming up?
Yeah, I'll just, so Valley Entrepreneurs is always the second Thursday of every month. So we have, the next one I believe is the 12th, I think is that Thursday. But is the editor of Natural Nutmeg magazine. And she's going to come in and talk about imposter syndrome. But one of the things that I think that resonated me when I talked to her, and we've hit it on this all the time, the one brochure you put out, the one reach that you did is not what's going to get it over the hill for someone to have brand recognition, right? Where it used to maybe take 7 times to get to someone for them to recognize your brand. It's more like 12 now because of social media and some of the other things. So she's going to bring some of those practices and stuff to the forefront. Because the more we can get out, the more people recognize it. There's nothing more flattering to me than going somewhere and someone's like, "Oh, I've heard of your store." I was like, "Oh, your store." I love that. So that's a big deal. We
do women register for that online, or how do they find out about?
They do, yeah.
Or is
So
it by
either
invitation
through
only,
SubherbanLivin, Simsbury.com, or any of the social media platforms. All of our events are posted there.
Okay.
We are a constant reach out for community events. We just finished the one for Simsbury Library. We have an art teacher in Granby who does a calligraphy camp every year that I found out through one of our actual male in-house artists. Wants to help raise money for her because she pays for the entire thing out of her own pocket. So we'll be raising money to help offset costs for her. Perfect. So it can be anything, but if you're interested in doing a fundraiser for it, be softball, or we've done PTAs, we've done sporting events, even someone that's really under, that needs help personally, financially, instead of a GoFundMe, we're happy to help in any way that we can, but those are the next 2 upcoming things for us.
Okay, thank you. And people can reach out to your website and find all the information on that.
Yep.
Okay,
Website,
Lisa, what else do you have coming up?
So, we're open 7 days a week, so we're always hosting events. We do a lot of private events. We have bridal showers, birthday parties, we do corporate events. So at any time, if somebody wanted to use the space to host a tasting, they could, which is great. And we also have an event coming up with Cheese Louise on June 29th from 2 to 5. So they are a brand new company that just opened in Avon, and they're 2 sisters or 2 best friends from childhood. And they're going to be bringing their mobile charcuterie cart, and we are going to be doing
your store?
Yes, yes. And they're going to be doing a little mixology. We're going to be doing a little mixology with some spritzes for summer. So a Hugo spritz and Aperol spritz. And tickets are $50. You can purchase those online or on social media platforms. We always embed the link in the top. And it just goes, the power in numbers that we talked about, we really enjoy working with brand new businesses who just opened. So
There's a certain like high level of energy and excitement and
it's
passion.
just
right?
real.
is,
It's
yeah.
there. And so
Yeah.
they give out little cards and things when they're there, and they
That's
set
fun.
up for people, coupons for people to use in the future. And it's just, they bring their car anywhere. They could come see you as well. So it's just a great opportunity. So that's, again, June 29th, 2 to 5. Pop in at any point to have free complimentary cheese samples and have some samples of different
But
spritzes.
you don't even know this about yourselves, but what you two do is, you have all this business experience and leadership skill set. And I think that's part of your personality and your ability to pivot and all these things you've probably just learned over time. But you're so pleasing to be with. You like disarm people to say, oh, this would be fun, let's just do it. And all of a sudden people want to be wherever you guys are just because of it's contagious almost. And But you'd be surprised.
And a year ago, we didn't even know each other.
And here you are.
You know,
Okay,
yeah.
good. What other questions should I be asking that I didn't? What more would you want to tell me or our listening audience that I haven't asked yet?
I think for us that a lot of times people think like with a gift shop too, like it's going to be super expensive. We spent some time before we went on around just the current economy, and people are really holding their purse strings tight as they should. But it doesn't stop birthdays from happening or events or needing to go somewhere. So in our particular store, we have anything ranging from $1 to hundreds of dollars. Pair of earrings. We even sell rocks. People love rocks for some reason, and they come in and they buy rocks. But we have free gift wrapping. And so for me, it's like anyone of all ages and any price point can come in and get something, and we'll still walk out with a nice little gift bag, and some ribbons and stuff. So we try to make it as special as possible, but for that wide range of any demographic, including the fur babies, which I always say we have a full line of pet products as well too. So it's not just for the people of your lives. So.
Yeah. And I think as a mom myself, we talked about wearing all those hats. So our business model is where luxury meets convenience. So what we really want people to know and understand is if you're going to pop over for lunch at 12 o'clock and you're meeting somebody for their birthday, you could come in at 11:59 and you could get a gift, all packaged, all ready, beautifully put together with those design elements that really defines our brand, and you can walk right next door to pop over. And I think the convenience, we understand. I'm a working, very, very busy mom, and my children are still, in grade school, high school, and so we are running the whole gamut of juggling schedules and sports and school and all those things. So I don't have time to run and get tissue paper and all of these little things.
Make it look fancy, right?
Yeah, I don't have time to put that together. When you walk into Wine Etc., you will be guaranteed to. If you don't have time to put together a custom gift order and you want to come back and pick it up tomorrow, don't worry. You will find something that you can bring, within a few minutes, to an event. So I think it's important for people to know we resonate with your busy life. We understand that you still want to have social outlets and times to have fun and do things, and you still need, life is to be celebrated. You still need to have those gifts, at your fingertips. So we really make an emphasis for convenience, and it's really important because we get it. We live that every day.
I would just say, because you guys have some really cute Simsbury stuff,
Oh, yeah,
Farmington
yeah.
Valley
Yep.
stuff, and the branded type of things too. Like it should be like Simsbury Proud kind of thing. But we do. We have bags that say Granby and Canton and Simsbury, and our whole candle line is based on landmarks that are around here, right? So for the tourists, or I think a lot about the kiddos that are going off to college, right? Having a mug that says Simsbury or Granby or whatever, or a
makes
local
a difference,
candle, like
right.
take a little bit of home with you on the way. So.
Well, I appreciate both you taking some time out of your busy days to sit and talk and tell us where you're going, what's going on, what we can continue to do to help, but keep the vision going forward. I think your message is needed. It's got to be embraced. There's opportunity. There's other young women particularly who are trying to do something, but it applies to men. This concept is still there. Have to be willing to pivot, have to have some vision, have to start before you're ready maybe.
You're right.
All those good things. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us
Thank you for
today.
having us.
We look forward to
It's been fun.
visiting your
Thank
shops.
you.
All right,
Thank
there
you.
you go. Bye-bye.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town.
bringing us together through local programming,
Education.
and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community.
Ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings.
and celebrating milestones.
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, People have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SEM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SEM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
Your schools,
And your government come together.